Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into a gripping true crime story that will leave you on the edge of your seat. In this episode, we unravel the chilling case of Edwin, whose actions turned lives upside down and sparked a desperate search for justice. From his shocking crimes to the brave survivors and the legal battles that followed, this is a story of darkness and resilience. Stay tuned as we uncover the details of this harrowing case and explore how it unfolded. If you enjoy true crime, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories like this. Observe the girl in the black dress as someone walks by. It might seem like a routine interaction, a typical couple checking into a motel. However, take note of how she maintains her distance from the man, crossing her arms and glancing around nervously. Moments later, he demands that she stand closer, and she hurriedly wipes away a tear when he isn't looking. The security footage reveals a troubling truth. Though he pretends to be a cop, he's far from there to protect her.
When officers arrived on scene, they found a man had been shot in the stomach.
Minutes later, another call from a gas station just down the road.
The young man stole a car and went on a spree straight out of Grand Theft Auto.
I used to kill that other girl, and she kept screaming, and I saw her forever. I just about that girl in Central Oregon. I had the one I met, Andrea, and if you guys are wondering if I have that 36 to her, no.
A would-be cop turned killer is on the rampage, murdering and carjacking anyone who crosses his path. The only person capable of stopping him is the one he least suspects, his own 19-year-old hostage, Aundreah Maes.
My phone was just pinging and pinging and pinging, and the very first message that I looked at was from Cam saying, "Have you seen Caylee? Have you heard from Caylee?"
On July 24th, 2016, the day before Aundreah's kidnapping, Julie Van Cleve, the mother of 23-year-old Kaylee Sawyer, was inundated with dozens of messages about her daughter's recent disappearance.
And I called her first, and her phone went to voicemail. The part that was hard, sometimes you would call, and it would go straight to voicemail. But sometimes you would call, and it would ring. But nobody ever answered.
This suggested some activity on the other end. Either Kaylee was deliberately avoiding her mother and boyfriend, or someone else had taken control of her phone while she was genuinely missing. Concerned, they both reached out to the police.
Dispatch, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm not sure if this is quite the right number to call. Last night I got home from the bars with my girlfriend. She got upset at me and ran off. And I chased her and wasn't able to find her, and I called all her family and they haven't heard from her, so I'm wondering what you recommend I do.
Dispatch, how can I help you?
My daughter is missing, and she has epilepsy and some medical issues.
What's the address that she's missing from?
I don't have the exact address.
The following day, rookie officer Isabel Ponce stormed into her local police station, claiming she had uncovered crucial information about Kaylee's disappearance after a confrontation with her husband, 34-year-old police trainee Edwin Morales.
I asked him, "What's wrong with you? We've been together for a very long time, I know something's up." And then he just says that he hit her with the car. So then I asked him, "You hit her with the car, that's an accident. It doesn't make sense, it's like you're lying to me." It wasn't making any sense to me because I'm like, why would somebody do that, especially you, especially him? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Isabel spoke with the detective for hours, disclosing that her husband had concealed some of Kaylee's belongings in their shed and had also stolen her service weapon and car. A manhunt was initiated for Edwin, but he had already fled. By evening, he had traveled straight from Redmond, Oregon to Salem. Unbeknownst to the local authorities, a potential killer was on the loose in their city. Meanwhile, 19-year-old Aundreah Maes was relaxing in her car after a long day at work.
I was supposed to leave in the middle of the afternoon, but I decided to stay and cover someone's shift. It was just a long day. I was on my Snapchat.
With the temperature nearing 90 degrees outside, Aundreah rolled down her driver's side window. In an instant, a figure with a gun reached through the opening.
That's when he unlocked the door and sat in the car really fast, and he had a gun just pointing it at me. That's where he handcuffed me and had me hop to the passenger side, and then the whole time he was just talking to me, trying to find out who I was, my life, like siblings, and I just kept telling him, like, I don't want to answer your questions. And that's when he got really upset, and he put the gun on my thigh, and he had told me, he's like, do you think this is a game? Do you think this is a joke? Because I will shoot you, I'm not joking.
Convinced she might never see daylight again, Aundreah was terrified. Yet this fear sparked an unexpected surge of confidence within her.
I never in a million years would have thought like what was happening was actually happening. I really thought like I wasn't gonna go home ever. I wasn't gonna see my family. They're probably gonna find my body in a ditch somewhere or find me dead in a motel or something. So when I would feel like that in those times, I would snap at him, I would say things, and
instead of crying or getting terribly upset, you'd get mad.
Yeah.
After hours of driving, the kidnappers halted at a rundown motel along the interstate. The motel's CCTV captured Edwin checking into a room while Aundreah, wiping away her tears, was observed by the indifferent clerk at the counter. Once inside the room, Edwin commanded her to undress and take a shower in front of him. In my mind, I thought I'd rather die than shower in front of him, and I told him as much.
In my head, I thought I'd rather die than shower in front of you. And I told him, I don't care what you do to me at this point, because that would be honestly worse than dying.
Frustrated, Edwin pushed Aundreah onto the bed and forced her to take a sleeping pill.
I remember I just kept trying to fight it and keep myself awake. I just kept thinking like, if I fall asleep, he would try to like take advantage of me. And that's when he had like turned over and he like licked my earlobe. And I was like, oh no, like, no, this is not gonna happen. And then that's when my phone had gone off.
Unaware of Aundreah's kidnapping, the police were still focused on locating Edwin's first victim, 23-year-old Kaylee Sawyer. With no body or substantial evidence, aside from the bloody clothes found in Edwin's shed, the district attorney handling the case was convinced that Kaylee was still alive.
I was holding on to hope, and every officer was holding on to hope that she might be clinging to life. And if we could find her, we could race her to help and bring her back from the point of no return.
23-year-old Kaylee Sawyer is a dental assistant in Bend. She hasn't been seen since the weekend. Family says that Kaylee went for a walk around Central Oregon Community College shortly after Edwin Lara was named a person of interest in her disappearance.
Lara works as a security guard at the community college.
Meanwhile, Haley's family in Bend endured deep anguish as the hours dragged on. Years later, during an interview with Keith Morrison from Dateline, each family member recounted their efforts to hold on to their memories of Kaylee during that first night without her. Starting with her mother.
She was probably 17, and she said to me, Mom, when people describe me, I want them to describe me as smart and strong and funny. For 23 years, nothing made me smile more than my daughter.
Jim and Sharon Walden, Kaylee's grandparents, were looking forward to Cameron and Kaylee's wedding.
Cameron and Kaylee loved each other. They would probably be getting engaged before too long.
They were a beautiful couple together.
Yeah.
Kaylee's best friend, Naomi, reflected on how challenging it had been for Kaylee to choose a career path, as she was eager to experience everything life had to offer.
She was gonna be a plastic surgeon, she was gonna be a policeman, she was gonna be a chef, she was gonna be a photographer. The world was hers. She didn't pick one thing.
As the district attorney and police continued their search for Kaylee and her band, the situation grew increasingly desperate for Aundreah at the motel. Just seconds before Edwin could assault her, her phone rang unexpectedly, startling him and interrupting his advance.
I don't even know what that alarm was for, but that alarm probably saved my life because he saw it and was like, what's this? What does that mean? I don't know where I got the idea, but I was like, that's my timer. I have to take medicine. And he was like, for what? And I was like, well, I have an STD.
Did you think if I tell him that, he won't want to rape me?
Yeah.
That was a lie, but it was enough to scare Edwin. He jumped out of bed and began pacing the room, eventually grabbing his phone and making a call.
I was picking up bits and pieces, and he was talking to someone about like helicopters. After that phone call, he was like, we gotta go, let's go.
Edwin appeared convinced that police helicopters were hovering just outside the door, despite the night being eerily silent. As Aundreah begged him to let her go, his response only heightened her fear.
And he was still like, no, you need to come with me. Like, basically still trying to use me as like a human shield, he kept saying.
In another room, Jack Levi was getting ready for a day of photographing butterflies at the nearby national park. At around 5 a.m., while loading his camera equipment into his trunk, his plans abruptly changed when a stranger, accompanied by a terrified girl in handcuffs, appeared out of nowhere and demanded that he hand over his car keys.
The guy initially said, "You must have found the wrong room." Next thing I recall is Edwin Lara flashing his gun, and I yelled for help, said, "I'll shoot you," and I yelled for help again, and he shot me.
The gun just went off, and everything just kind of went black in my head. And then I'm like thinking, well, I just seen him shoot someone in front of me.
In a panic, Edwin grabbed a bag and fled with his gun in hand. They quickly reached a gas station across the street, where Edwin noticed a car with the passenger door left open.
He was just walking towards our car, and then I turned around again like 3 seconds later. He had just thrown the girl into our car, slammed the door shut, and he pointed a gun at my head saying, like, "Drive, I'll shoot."
At this point, the police were unaware of Edwin's recent crime spree. They were convinced something had happened to Kaylee, but Andrea had not yet been reported missing. Everything changed when a significant development occurred. Jack Levi, the man Edwin had shot through the chest at the motel, survived.
911, what's your emergency? Super 8 Motel. There's a gentleman who says he got shot in the stomach.
Jack didn't know anything about Edwin, but he informed the police about the terrified young woman in handcuffs who had followed him. He described seeing them head toward a gas station across the street, where Edwin had carjacked a family before taking them hostage.
When they said on the news early on Tuesday morning that there was a female in the car, I actually was like, it's Kaylee. She's with him.
However, after interviewing Jack Livy and several witnesses at the gas station, it became clear that the person Edwin had with him was not Kaylee, but Aundreah. With her last hope slipping away, Kaylee's mother felt utterly defeated.
I told my husband, I'm not stupid. I know she's not with us anymore.
As the police moved onto the interstate, tension in the car mounted. Edwin now had 3 more hostages: Nima, a 17-year-old at the wheel, his 14-year-old brother, and their grandmother, who didn't speak a word of English. Edwin, brandishing his gun and shouting orders at the grandson, provoked the elderly woman into screaming at the kidnapper.
She just really didn't understand what was going on. I mean, who would?
Edwin's getting very paranoid, and he's like, "Tell her to shut the F up, or I'll shoot." And we don't know how to speak our native language, Farsi, like my brother and I. We're trying to figure out how to calm her down. And I'm driving, and I had just gotten my permit. He asked us if we want to hear a story, and then he said, "Well, I used to be a good guy. I used to be a cop." Then he proceeded to ask us, "Have you guys ever had an urge to kill?" I'm looking at this guy like, this dude's crazy as hell.
As a fervent preacher in a Baptist church, his religious beliefs conflicted with his daughter's identity, and he was unafraid to express this to the police when they brought his family in for questioning.
I was just trying to throw them as hard as I could to the grass to make sure that they wouldn't break, so maybe they could pinpoint where we were going or something.
Afterward, Nima pleaded with Edwin, insisting that he should release them now that he had their car. In a surprising turn, Edwin agreed. He marched along the road, instructed everyone to get out of the vehicle, then took the wheel and aimed his gun at Andrea as she followed Nima and his family outside.
I was just like, can I just stay with them? You have a perfectly working car now, you have everything you need. And he was like, no, like I told you, they'll try to shoot me and kill me if you're not with me. So still, he just needed that human shield. Remember, I just started bawling again, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to go home.
And go ahead of the suspect, and they look down the road to put those spikes.
Edwin's time was running out. Shortly after he released the other hostages, the sound of police sirens grew louder in the distance. In response, he grabbed Andrea's phone and began recording himself.
I used to kill that other girl, and she kept screaming, and I had to silence her forever.
He then handed Andrea's phone to her and, at gunpoint, ordered her to post the recording online.
And so he wanted me to post that to my Facebook and share it with everybody. He was threatening to kill me if I didn't post it. And I remember, I think he had me caption it, "Crazy murderer on the loose," or something to that effect.
When the police finally caught up with him, Edwin accelerated, seized Andrea's phone once more, and dialed 911.
911 emergency reporting.
Yes, hi. This is Edwin Lara, and I'm the guy on Interstate 5.
Are you by yourself or?
No, I have someone with me. I kidnapped her in Oregon. She's innocent. Her name is Aundreah.
Edwin, do you have any weapons with you?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I do have a gun on me. I can just give it to Aundreah, see if she wants to kill me.
No. Edwin, how fast are you going?
He was going like 120 at that time now. And he was just zooming in and out of cars, honking at people, just driving reckless and crazy.
After a 15-minute high-speed chase, Edwin abruptly slammed on the brakes and stopped. He returned Andrea's phone to her, raised his hands in surrender, and exited the car for the first time since the kidnapping. Finally alone, the young woman began sobbing into the phone as she followed the 911 operator's instructions.
I'll let you talk to Andrea.
Okay, just don't hang up.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, Andrea. Are you okay? You don't need any medical or anything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, make sure your hands are up too and stuff. I know you're on the phone right now, but just hold your hand up so they can see your hands too.
Okay.
I'm going to stay on the line with you until the officers get there, okay? And you're going to be okay. Andrea?
Mm-hmm.
Tell him we're letting the officers know that he can't hear.
I can't. He's too far.
Okay.
He's already walking towards them.
And if you want to do the same, once he gets out stuff, just turn around and walk backwards towards him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Andrea, it's going to be okay.
Okay.
At that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is done. Like I can go home, like this is over, like I'm okay, I'm safe. Like I just felt like this weight lifted.
But the reality was quite different. Despite Edwin clearly telling the operator that Andrea was innocent, miscommunication between Oregon and California authorities resulted in her arrest.
Okay, if she's giving you instructions, go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get off the line, okay? And just whatever your instructions. Okay, all right, bye.
They had me get out of the car and had me walk backwards and handcuff me, and I was like, okay, this might just be like a formality thing just because they don't know what's going on, maybe, but I'm like, he told dispatch everything. Like, I didn't know that they couldn't like tell the situation.
The police arrested both Aundreah and Edwin, but their primary concern remained finding Caylee. They promptly began interrogating Edwin to gather crucial information.
We were informed, actually, as we were walking into the jail that he's been asking for you, been waiting for you.
I'm Matt. I shouldn't introduce myself because you have no names.
I'm sure you guys already know who I am. There's a really, really strong hint of arrogance and ego behind that statement.
Edwin appeared unfazed by his arrest and quickly disclosed Caylee's location to the detectives. They dispatched officers and paramedics to the address along Highway 26 in Oregon. Within minutes, they located Caylee.
I came across what I believe to be Miss Sawyer laying on the rocks. When I saw her initially, I thought she was alive, and I thought that she was attempting to crawl up the face of the rocks that were on the south side of the road. Her right hand was on the edge of a rock, as if you were pulling yourself up the embankment.
Caylee had clung to life as long as she could, but the police arrived too late. Her body was recovered, and her family was informed of the heartbreaking news. The district attorney also issued a cautionary statement alongside the tragic update.
We advised her family not to look at the autopsy photos. I'm glad they took our advice.
We asked when we can see her, identify their body, and they would not let us see her. Their words were, "You cannot see her because she's unrecognizable."
The last time I got to kiss my baby girl on the forehead was through a black body bag.
I just knew that if I went, I might climb up on that table with her and not leave.
As the Bend police in Oregon recovered Kaylee's body, the Redding police in California detained Andrea. Due to miscommunications between the two departments, she was wrongly labeled as an accomplice. The authorities even went so far as to publicly brand her a co-conspirator, flooding the media with false information about the survivor.
Laura's run from the law ended. Authorities caught up with him and Aundreah.
They were booked into the Tehama County Jail, charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, carjacking, and burglary.
It's something out of the movies, and it turns out he wasn't alone.
The relationship between Edwin, Laura, and Aundreah Maes is still under investigation.
Then they ended up strip searching me and completely treating me like I was the criminal, and I was just okay, I felt 100% violated after everything I had just gone through. They were like, okay, we need to get your mugshot. And I was like, why? I didn't do anything. And I kept trying to tell him what was going on.
And this wasn't the end of the mistakes made by Redding authorities. After his arrest, Edwin tried to assert his rights, but both the police and prison staff ignored him. Ashley Corson from NBC's Urge to Kill podcast explains the situation best.
Edwin's attorneys argue that when he was initially booked into the Tehama County Jail in California, he indicated to jail staff that he wanted to speak to a lawyer. He said, "When do I get a lawyer?"
My lawyer, I'm okay. It's your right to request a lawyer. Okay.
Well, according to jail staff, they interpreted that as a procedural question rather than a specific request for an attorney.
Unaware of the error, detectives persisted in pressing Edwin for answers. To this point, the prisoner maintained that Kaylee's death was accidental, that he had hit her with his car, panicked, and quickly disposed of her body. However, the injuries she sustained told a different story.
Now's your time to tell me the real story, because what you just said didn't happen that way. And he begins to describe, to my shock and quite frankly, terror, listening to the things that he had done.
Following Kaylee's boyfriend's account of their late-night argument, in which she had walked off alone, Edwin, then a campus security guard, spotted her. He claimed he approached and offered her a ride home, which she declined. Edwin then exited his vehicle and ordered her to stop. It's crucial to note that campus security uniforms and vehicles were nearly indistinguishable from police at that time. Edwin attempted to deceive Kaylee by posing as a police officer, but she realized the ruse and tried to escape.
So I panicked and I grabbed the dog and told her, shut up, shut up, shut up. And she passed out.
Edwin then forcibly pulled Kaylee into his car. The campus security vehicle didn't merely resemble a police cruiser. It had all the features of one, including a caged back seat. Trapped and unconscious, Kaylee was unable to escape. Edwin drove her to a remote parking lot, and by the time she regained consciousness, it was already too late.
He said she began coming to and tried to fight. She started to crawl through the plexiglass caged back seat. She was trying to turn emergency lights on, trying to grab the radio, trying to honk the horn, anything that she could do, because she knew.
She was struggling to scream. So I threw her down and I had to get up on the bed.
And he sexually assaults her there while she is dying and drags her up behind a tree and finishes the job with the big 60, 70-pound rock.
And that's when I think she died.
The harrowing details of the murder led county officials and the district attorney to pursue the death penalty. However, this decision failed to consider Redding Police's denial of Edwin's right to an attorney on the day of his arrest. Under these conditions, the judge dismissed his confession, despite knowing what had occurred. As a result, the DA and detectives found themselves back at square one.
They said, look, we got this. Sure. We can do it. We have the evidence. If we thought it was a death penalty case before, there's no reason to back down now.
Together, they reconstructed the case from the ground up and presented it to Edwin's defense team. Cornered, the defense offered a plea deal. Edwin would plead guilty and receive a life sentence without parole if the DA agreed to drop the death penalty. The DA then discussed the situation with Kaylee's mother, Julie, and left the final decision in her hands.
He explained to me what happens in a death penalty case and the appeals. I would have had to show up to every appeal. As long as he's living on death row, I would be too.
Some choice.
Yeah.
During this time, Aundreah was eventually released from jail and all charges against her were dropped. The Reading police never publicly apologized for her wrongful incarceration or for denying Edwin's rights, which led to the dismissal of his confession.
I just got off of the phone with Aundreah's family not just a few moments ago. They did confirm that Aundreah has been released by police. Aundreah's grandmother, Elizabeth Maes, never believed her granddaughter could have been involved.
She's not a bad girl. She doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, we're church people. And so she's a good girl. She doesn't know nothing about the world.
Afterward, the case dragged on in court for nearly 3 years, despite Edwin's guilty plea. Statements still needed to be heard, and Aundreah was even asked to testify. However, the trauma she was experiencing at the time made it too difficult for her to do so.
This was the first time that I had seen him since everything happened. It was just hard even sitting there because I could see him trying to look over here.
During that time, Aundreah sank into a deep depression and battled severe PTSD, gradually becoming a shadow of her former self.
Why is all this happening to me? And I just felt like my life was going downhill. I was just dead for 2 years, and my family will even tell you, like, I was not the same person. I was completely shut down, shut out of life. I didn't have any interests. I didn't want to do anything. And it wasn't until I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? Like, I need to turn myself around. The only person that's going to change this is me. You like start going through a bunch of thoughts in your head, but like you have to like love yourself again and treat yourself with, you know, respect and kindness and move past and work on those things. When you go through something, you can't sit there and paint yourself as a victim, because if you do, you'll never move past it. You have to think of the situation and be like, okay, something terrible happened to me, but I can turn it around and make something good out of it. I can help others. I can share my story. And I never would have thought my story could touch other people and like inspire people. And it's amazing to know that it does.
Kaylee's family faced similar struggles. They filed a lawsuit against the college for permitting Edwin to work there without a background check or psychological evaluation, and for allowing untrained security personnel to use police-grade equipment and vehicles. Not only did they win the case, but their efforts also resulted in the creation of Kaylee's Law, which banned the use of such equipment on college campuses.
In the height of their tragedy, Kaylee's family stepped up and said, "We're going to make sure that no young person has to go through what our daughter did."
Nima and his family, who had also been taken hostage by Edwin, eventually moved on with their lives, as did Jack Livy, the butterfly photographer who narrowly escaped death at the motel parking lot.
The bullet went out my back, missed the spine by about an inch. I forget if it was, I think it was 2 years ago now. I went back and stayed in the same room I was in when I was shot at that Super 8 motel in Wairika. You know, like I said, I moved on with my life.
Even Kaylee's mother eventually found a way to live without her daughter, choosing to focus on the fleeting moments of happiness that remained in her life, rather than the profound loss she had been grappling with since Kaylee's passing.
Every morning I wake up and I love her more and more each day, just like I did when she was here. You know, I have gotten to that point sometimes where I look at a picture and I smile, and I'm so glad for that.
On the final day of the court hearing, Aundreah, who had healed from the ordeal over the years, spoke for the first time with the support of Kaylee's family, with whom she had forged a friendship through their shared tragedy. Summoning her courage, she faced Edwin one last time before his sentencing. Although no cameras were allowed inside that day, she confidently reiterated her statement to journalists as she left the courthouse.
But like my main thing in there was just like, you know what, like you tried to paint me as this victim and this weak person, and that's not who I am. I'm not a victim. I am a survivor. I'm a warrior. I defeated him, and I am truly blessed.
And so, the harrowing tale of Edwin's reign of terror comes to a close. Throughout the years, Andrea and Kaylee's family have faced unimaginable challenges and profound losses, but their resilience and courage have shone through, even in the darkest of times. Andrea, who once battled her own demons, found strength and support in Kaylee's family, transforming her trauma into a powerful voice of justice. As she faced Edwin one last time, her bravery served as a testament to her indomitable spirit. The case not only led to the establishment of Kaylee's law, but also left an indelible mark on the lives of everyone involved. While Kaylee's family continues to honor her memory, and those who survived move forward with their lives, the echoes of this tragic story remind us of the strength found in community and justice. Thank you for joining us as we explored this gripping and emotional journey. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more gripping true crime stories. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know what case you'd like us to cover next. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant.